violence is ended. A Buddhist legend.
Nearly all the world's greatest religious teachers have been peacemakers, and one of these certainly was the Buddha. Among the teachings of his Eightfold Path was right action, and part of this was to avoid all killing.
Tradition says the following tale was told by the Buddha himself to monks whose quarrel had reached the point of violence.
Once, long ago, there arose a quarrel between two kings.
One was the great Ramadana. His kingdom was large and rich, and his troops were many.
The other king was Dejiti. His kingdom was small and poor, and his troops were few.
Ramadana told his generals,
"We will march against Dejiti and conquer his kingdom. He will not be able to resist me."
When Dejiti heard of the army's advance, he told Deva, his queen,
"Nothing we can do can prevent Ramadana from seizing our country. For the sake of our people, it is best to avoid a battle. Let us flee from the country tonight."
Deva asked, "Where can we go?"
Let us flee to Ramadana's own capital city, Benares. It is large enough to hide in, and he will never search for us there.
So they took their young son, Degavu, and fled by night to Benares.
There, they lodged in a full quarter of the city. King Dejiti disguised himself as a wandering holy man, who each day begged enough coins and food for them all.
Time passed, and the prince grew towards manhood. Then King Dejiti told his wife,
Truly it is said, we may forgive those who hurt us, but never forgive those we hurt. If Ramadana finds us here, he will surely kill us all. Let us send their son from the city.
Let him go to my parents in the west. There he can learn the arts and sciences proper to his estate.
So, they sent the prince away.
Now, it happened that the barber from the court of King Dejiti was at the same time in work at the court of Ramadana.
One day, the barber caught sight of Dejiti in the marketplace, begging in the disguise of a holy man. Hoping for a reward, he secretly followed Dejiti to his home, then reported to Ramadana.
My lord, I have seen your enemies King Dejiti and Queen Deva walking in the city streets. Dejiti is disguised as a poor holy man.
Ramadana sent his men to arrest the family.
Dejiti and Deva were brought before him.
"Where is your son?"
Demanded Ramadana.
Beyond your reach.
Replied Dejiti. Ramadana turned to one of his generals.
"Tie them up and cart them around the city for all to see and scorn. Then take them to the south gate and execute them by sword. Allow no one to perform the funeral rites. Their bodies shall pray to the birds and the beasts."
Yes, my lord.
Now, on that very day, Prince Degavu had come back to Benares to visit his parents. As he passed in the marketplace, he saw soldiers on horse and on foot, and among them a cart, and tied up in the cart his mother and his father. He was powerless to help them.
King Dejiti saw the prince as well. Wishing to advise his son, yet mindful not to give him away, Dejiti called out as if to no one, and these were his words.
Be not short-sighted, be not long-sighted. Not by violence is violence ended. Violence is ended by non-violence.
As darkness fell, King Dejiti and Queen Deva were taken outside the city walls and executed by the sword.
Their bodies were left on the ground, with a dozen soldiers standing guard.
Within the city, Prince Degavu told himself,
First, I will perform the funeral rites for my parents. Then, I will find a way to avenge them.
He brought strong wine from the marketplace out to the guards. They took it gladly and soon lay drunk and asleep.
Degavu piled up wood, placed his parents' bodies on top, then lit the funeral pyre. He pressed his palms together and walked 3 times around the flames.
At that moment, at the royal palace, Ramadana was strolling upon his roof terrace, puzzling over the words of King Dejiti that had been reported to him. Gazing far south from the city wall, he spied the fire and the figure circling.
"It must be Prince Degavu."
The prince, his duty complete, slipped quickly into the forest.
For days he stayed there, hiding from Ramadana's men, while grieving for his parents.
At last, the danger and the tears had passed, and Degavu entered the city once more.
At the royal elephant stables, he took work as an apprentice.
And And so it was, one morning, that Dagobah rose early, sat before the stables, and sang to greet the dawn.
His voice drifted to the palace and to the balcony of King Brahmadana, who had also risen early, wakened by a fearful dream.
How lovely. I have need of such music to ease my mind.
He sent for the singer, and Dagobah was brought before him.
Sing for me.
Said Brahmadana, not knowing who the young man was.
Dagobah sang, and the king's heart was glad. Then Brahmadana told him.
Stay with me.
And Dagobah answered, As you wish, my lord.
So Dagobah became the king's attendant.
And since the young man's conduct was agreeable and his words pleasing, the king grew ever more fond of him, bestowing on him more and more responsibility and trust.
Then came a day when Brahmadana desired to go hunting, and he told Dagobah.
Today you will drive my chariot.
And Dagobah replied, It is an honor, my lord.
So Dagobah that day drove the chariot of the king.
But as the hunters pursued their quarry, Dagobah cleverly took a path that led away, brought the king far from the sight and the hearing of others.
At last, Brahmadana said,
I wish to stop and rest.
Dagobah dismounted and sat cross-legged on the ground. And he told the king, Come rest yourself, my lord.
So the king lay down beside Dagobah and slept.
Dagobah gripped his sword and drew it slowly from its sheath.
He pointed the blade at the throat of Brahmadana.
And then there came to him the words of his father.
Be not short-sighted, be not long-sighted. Not by violence is violence ended. Violence is ended by non-violence.
The sword of Dagobah trembled.
He drew it slowly away and replaced it in its sheath.
Brahmadana breathed heavily and opened wide his eyes and sat up in alarm. What is wrong, my lord?
It is a dream that often plagues me. I see Dagobah, son of my enemies, coming at me with his sword to avenge his parents.
Then Dagobah rose again and drew his sword.
I am Dagobah, son of your enemies, and here am I to avenge my parents.
Have mercy, dear Dagobah. Grant me my life.
How can I grant your life? Truly is it said, we may forgive those who hurt us, but we never forgive those we hurt. You have killed my mother and my father, and would surely kill me too. So the life to be granted is mine.
Then grant me my life, and I shall grant you yours.
So Dagobah put away his sword.
And the king rose, and the two clasped their hands and swore never to seek each other's harm.
Then Brahmadana said,
I have often pondered your father's final words. Tell me, what did he mean when he said, be not short-sighted?
My father meant, do not be quick to spurn against your friendship.
And what did he mean when he said, be not long-sighted?
My father meant, do not allow your hate to last too long.
And what did he mean when he said, not by violence is violence is ended by non-violence?
My father meant this. You, my lord, have killed my parents and stolen their kingdom. If I were to kill you in revenge, your allies would kill me, and my allies would kill them, and so on, with no end to violence. But now instead you have granted my life, and I have granted yours, and violence is at an end.
Then the king marveled at the wisdom of Dagobah, who understood